According to the National Association of School of Psychologists, an open line of communication between teachers, parents, and students is the best way for students to learn. This allows us to equally share the load of responsibility, letting our students best learn what is right. NASP has tips for both parents and schools. For schools, these tips include providing interpreters for ELL students and parents, setting up multiple events for parents to meet teachers, allowing for a relationship to be formed before just a problem occurs and without the stress of conferences, delivering regular updates of class activities, assignments, and expectations, setting up presentations, workshops, library recommendations, etc. to open a door for parent involvement, establishing groups of parents and teachers to help address school-wide issues. Teachers should also find parents who don't volunteer immediately so that the whole school is represented. Parental tips include introducing yourself at open houses to let teachers know how to reach you, setting up conferences before the end of the year, before any problems arise, find out what the expectations for class are and how the teacher deals with problems so the information is there to reinforce at home, and to volunteer within the school as much as your time allows. I think this is the best way to help students develop a good sense of what is right and wrong, as well as help teachers share the load of responsibility. Students are in school for the majority of their time, so having parental involvement is pretty important. According to the National Education Association, students prefer interactions with their peers over interactions with adults. They prefer active learning to passive learning and engage in strong, intense interests that are often short-lived. The teaching implications of this are showing students how to study, making sure to set up constant and explicit expectations. These expectations should become routines so students can remember what these rules are. You can't just expect a student to remember what something is after telling them once. Make sure to provide detailed instruction on long-term assignments. Make use of graphic organizers for your students, and clearly provide any expectation for assignments. NEA also mentions that all students start at a point at different ages and progress at different rates. Some students will be prepared for critical thinking earlier than others. Teachers have to keep the goal in mind and make sure that the goal is communicated explicitly. The best way to provide just interactions and just instruction for each student is to use some basic classroom guidelines. We need to connect to students' lives. Make sure to build on the diversity of your classroom. Linking real-world issues to the classroom puts different opinions into multiple perspectives. This also allows students to differentiate between what is fact and opinion, and it helps them learn how to be respectful of all situations. Another way is to create a community in the classroom. This allows for a safe place for children to share issues and allows all voices to be heard. Lastly, including authentic assessments allows students to connect lessons outside the classroom. This, I have found, is completely untrue, and I'm unsure of why she was told she wasn't allowed to see any plans. Under federal regulations, all teachers have the right to see any special requirements. I think this is something I'm going to have to ask Dr. Peterson about as well. The way to differentiate curriculum in a music classroom is to put students in sections that are evenly spaced out. Specific parts can be constructed to each student's ability. For example, you have soprano, alto, tenor, and bass, and then sometimes there's a descant part. Putting students that have a more extensive musical background into this more challenging part can allow them to be more challenged and can differentiate the instruction very easily. Another way to do this is to develop worksheets that show the ability of each student. For example, I can develop a worksheet that has different levels of notation that are seemingly random to students, but not to me. This will allow students to do the worksheets without wondering why one student has a different worksheet than the other. So if a colleague was to ask me why I do what I do, I would say that teachers have a responsibility to our students. But sharing that responsibility with parents is the best way to teach them. Any activities I use to build bridges between parents and myself is a way to help students manage and learn new skills. As well as teach these skills, we have to ensure our meanings and intentions are clear and precise. Because of developmental discrepancies between adult and adolescent brains, the methods previously described will let the collective classroom be expressive and accurate. Teaching social justice and ensuring that you are just to all of your students should also be a part of the classroom. Connecting real life to each classroom expectations and discussions will help develop a way to discern what is fact and what is opinion between students and how they can discern that. Creating a community within the classroom will help students feel safe and will teach them how to respect others. As for the laws regarding specialized needs, I saw nothing that blocked teachers from seeing these plans. I feel that we have to look at these plans in order to best help our students learn. So I'm going to have a talk with Dr. Peterson and that school. Lastly, I've always struggled with how to differentiate instruction in a music classroom. But the source I found made sense of how to break it down and do it. If anyone asked me why I picked who was in the descant or the sections I did, I now have an academic meaning behind why, instead of just an instinctual one. If students ask me why I do what I do, I think for the most part, I can be open and clear with them. Thinking back to my teenage years and remembering that and how I felt, I think is going to help me when I explain this to my students. I think that being approachable and reachable as a person is important, not only for the safety of your students, but just for the well-being of the classroom and for them to feel open with you. These skills that I've taught or will be teaching will be built upon throughout their lives. Especially lessons on community and respect. These last two reasons are very close to my heart, besides just teaching the love of music.